Hello, welcome to Motor Mouth, brought to you by the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles. I'm Kendra Cook.
I'm Dan Olson.
And of course, we are here in the beautiful 1938 Reading Diner, which is inside the Boyertown Museum. And the Boyertown Museum is located at 85 South Walnut Street in Boyertown, PA. And we'd love to have you visit us. We're open Tuesdays through Sundays, 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Closed Mondays, or please feel free to drop us a line using our email address, mail, M-A-I-L, at boyertownmuseum.org, or give us a call, 610-367-2090. Well, as always, we have a couple of upcoming events that we're really excited about. The next one is our first ever Hoods Up weekend, and that's going to be March 21st and 22nd, Saturday and Sunday. And basically, if you come here and to the museum to visit, if you've been here before, you probably have noticed the hoods on our cars are left closed, and we do that for a couple reasons. But there's always people that are asking us to see under the hoods, to see the engines. Well, on that weekend, we're going to open up most of the hoods, and you'll be able to get a look at all the really neat engines that we have out here. I think probably about 30 of them will be open, so that's quite a few.
Yep.
And a little bit of everything, really early stuff that you're not going to see anywhere else, experimental stuff. So please come on out and check us out for that. After that, really the next big thing we have is, you want to guess? It's in April.
April, my birthday. Well, we have a diner day in
Yes.
April, April 11th.
Is that your birthday?
No,
Oh.
no.
All right,
Nope.
well.
But it's worth coming out and helping me celebrate early. So
Yeah, so April 11th, Saturday, is our next diner day. Of course, very popular event, 5-cent coffee, 25-cent pie. And
homemade pie.
Yes.
Homemade.
Yes, yes. And that is with regular museum admission.
Right.
So if you're a member, that means you can just come in here and for 30 cents get all that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yep.
become a member. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Genuine. I was going to say genuine 1938 waitresses, but no, they're genuine waitresses with period dress.
Yeah, that's a disclaimer.
Should we
We'll
cut that or
asterisk.
keep going?
We'll
Okay.
asterisk that.
Yeah,
Genuine
okay.
1938 waitress. After that, our next event is April 18th. That's the next Saturday. That's our April 3rd Saturday event. This being our 50th year, we're doing something the third Saturday of every month. And April 18th is a safe driving seminar brought to you by AAA. And space is limited. So if you're interested in taking that course and you are eligible for some kind of discount, on your auto insurance if you complete these courses. If you're interested in doing that, call to register at the Reading Berks branch of AAA, and their phone number, as you can see on the flyer, it's 610-374-4531. Of course, if you call here, we'll direct you to the right person. We'll give you that information. And also, this isn't an event, but it's very important. We have a brand new website.
Yes, I heard about that.
Yeah.
I got an email today about it.
As in just a few hours ago. So brand new. I know we've had some problems with the old one with finding events and getting it updated. Well, we're going to fix those problems now. It's a great new website, lots of really neat photos, easier to navigate. It even has an online gift shop. So you can buy some of the things online and have them shipped to you at home. So it's a really neat website. Please check it out. It's the same address, www.boyertownmuseum.org. So, tonight, we're talking about some kind of strange mechanical...
It's not really that strange.
It's not strange. I think it's going to be strange when people learn how old it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Actually, what we're going to be talking about is transmissions. Not really about the transmissions, but shifting them. And, you'll kind of get an idea as I'm going where we are going with this, but there's all kinds of ways to shifting transmissions. You know, automatic transmission, you put it in gear and that's it. Manual transmission, you shift from gear to gear, and so on and so forth. It seems like the latest craze in shifting now is paddle shifters. And I remember 10 years ago, it was kind of this interesting thing that Formula One cars had them. And then, you know, somebody just recently told me about a Jaguar having one. Well, Kendra, I have to tell you, Kendra has this car. It's about this big, this little gold car. And that has paddle shifters, okay? And so they're quite, I don't know if they're common yet, but they're getting that way pretty quick. And, you know, that's one type of shifter. And then if you go back a few years, and it's not really a shifter, but it's a semi-automatic stuff. And, you know, when I mentioned to some friends of mine that I was doing about shifting transmissions, they started coming, hey, don't forget this, and this, and this, and this. And so I'm going to rattle through some of these things real quick. You know, and I tried finding more about them, and I thought, you know, this is only an hour-long show, and I only got so much time to find this stuff. But anyway, one of them was the Volkswagen Super Beetle had an automatic stick shift, and that made headlines, maybe not headlines, but it was in their advertisements and stuff. Again, it was a semi-automatic transmission. I understand Chrysler had a semi-automatic transmission, something with their fluid coupling. Back in the 40s and 50s, Hudson had a semi-automatic called the vacuum motive drive. And also somebody told me about Chevy had a semi-automatic vacuum shifter back in the 40s. That was a $10 option if you wanted to get it. And so that's some of them real quick there. But the primary thing I was focused on is push-button transmissions. And you know, we were talking, and everybody remembers the Chrysler products had push-button transmissions. But then a little bit of investigation, I found out some others. Now, Etzel, did you know Etzel had something called the Teletouch, 1958. They had their own push-button transmission. It was right in the steering wheel hub. You had all the buttons to push, automatic. These were all automatic push-button transmissions here. The Lincoln and high-end Mercuries had one in 57 and 58. Now you're going to see a picture of a 58 Mercury push-button transmission, and that was called keyboard control, and it was kind of a neat little thing there. But you know, you think of a keyboard, you're pushing a lot of buttons all the time, but you think automatic transmission, you push D for drive, and that's it until you want to stop. Let's see, Rambler back around 1960 had the Flash-O-Matic. That was a push-button device again. The 1964 Renault Dauphine, the little economy car, they had push-button automatic transmission. 1956 Packard Caribbean had the touch button Ultramatic. It was standard. It was electric, an electric push-button thing. If you wanted the Packard Clipper, the cheaper model, was the $52 option. I mentioned Chrysler right in the beginning. I think every Chrysler product, you could get push-button transmission. If you wanted automatic transmission, that's the way it came. And I remember when I was a kid, a wee little kid, and we used to come home for lunch from school and had a new neighbor, and he was my friend, and he showed me their brand new Valiant parked in the driveway and pushed it, and he was showing me the push button transmission. I can still remember that. That was a lot of years ago, a lot. I even saw an advertisement for a Fargo pickup truck. Fargo was the Canadian Dodge truck. It was rebadged as Fargo, and that even had push button transmission mounted right on the dashboard. Well, also we have a live guest here. It's called 1957 DeSoto Fireflight.
Yeah.
We're going to take a look at that. We're going to go up and going to actually see the push buttons on that. So we'll be back in right in one moment here.
Well, we're here with this is our guest. He's not a very animated guest, but he's a beautiful car. This is a 1957 DeSoto Fireflight, and we're very grateful. The owner, Perry Rogers, he is letting us borrow this really for this show. So Dan will explain, I guess,
that's
why
clout.
it's connected to
Clout.
it is. He'll explain why this is connected to our show.
Okay, this car is a Chrysler product, 1957. It has a push-button automatic transmission. It's tucked right inside the door here. You open the door up, of course, and you sit in, and you really can't see it right there, but it's in there. And real quick, some of the things about this car, I was glancing at it, and you know, this is DeSoto. It's kind of, I guess, above the average car, but it's not the high class one. But it's a typical car from the 50s. It has all kinds of gadgets. Has a clock in the middle of the steering wheel. Did you know that?
Oh.
It'd be kind of hard to tell
Okay.
time as you're going around the turn, but but it's that. It has power windows in it. It's 1957. Again, automatic transmission. You can probably see at the base of the seats there is power seats. So this is pretty cool car here, and they had a whole list of options. As most cars did back then, two-toning. If you wanted two-tone, they would put a second color inside between here, and it'd be a different color. Well, it costs you extra, of course. And just a neat car, nice car here. The windshield is like a compound curve, sort of, and I can't imagine how much something like that would cost to replace. So, and we were talking right before the camera started. It has twin antenna in the back, which is another 50s thing. And some of the things that were standard on this car, they liked to name things back then too.
Oh,
so
good.
it had torsion air ride, Oriflow shocks, safety lock door latches, total contact brakes, and we can't forget the power tip spark plugs. So that I thought was kind of interesting also. This evening before I came to the museum, I was looking up some stuff about the 57 DeSoto, and I came across something that has nothing to do with push-button transmission or a clock in the steering wheel, but this is kind of an interesting thing, and I'll quote here. The 1957 DeSoto Adventurer, which was the sporty model that was above this, was the first base model United States car to provide 1 horsepower per cubic inch of displacement, as the 345 horsepower engine was not considered optional equipment. A lot of people talk about the 56 Chrysler, 57 Chevy. They had 1 horsepower per cubic, or 1 horsepower per cubic inch, but they were optional engine. This is the first factory base car, was a 57 DeSoto. So you can put that in your mind, and next time it gets slow at a party, bring that fact out. Okay? Remember that.
After I've had coffee, I'll remember it.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, this is the 57 DeSoto. We brought it here just to show you the push-button transmission. Okay, one last car I was going to talk about with these oddball shifting things. It's not a push button, and it is some sort of a dashboard located shifter gear, or gear shifter rather. It's a cord. And I'm going to quote you something that I saw online. I'll read the whole thing. It says, the chrome shifter mechanism lies in the same spot as a typical column shifter, but the little fixed square houses a 4-speed shift pattern and a short lever for the Bendix fingertip gear control. Your thumb and forefinger pinch the loop shifter, which moves easily with the shortest flicks this side of the light switch. The weird part is that you mustn't push the clutch while moving the gear lever. Pre-select the gear with forethought and later engage the clutch for a slightly vague amount of time. Don't rush it to allow the gears to change before releasing the pedal. So that is some words about the Cord. Back in the 30s, they had this pre-selector gear shift. You're seeing a picture of it there on your screen. Very interesting. And we're going to be talking about another car in a moment. But after we talk about that, we're going to be talking about more about these pre-selector things. So quite interesting what was out there long ago.
All right, well, now we have the newest addition to the collection here at the Boyertown Museum. And this is a 1913 SGV. And with us is Bob Dare. He's our executive director. He's going to tell us a little bit about this car. It has really neat features on it. So go ahead.
Yes, this is our latest acquisition, and it's really a great car. It is a very rare car. It is an SGV made in Reading, and it has a Fleetwood body. As you see on the side of the frame here, there's says Fleetwood. So the chassis and car were made in Reading, then shipped to Fleetwood to have the custom body put on. Very unusual custom body. Notice how the windshield is a collapsible windshield. When you put the top down, you can lay the windshield flat, and the cowl is extended back. You can see that by the unusual brass insert above the door. It was made to be like a speedster. Also, it has some very unusual features. In 1913, one of the first and only manufacturers to use what they called an electric shift. Today, Dan was talking about push-button switches. On this steering wheel, there are 6 buttons. 1 for reverse, 1 for neutral, and 4 speeds forward. The way that worked, you just push the button that if you wanted to go forward in low gear, it would be the first gear. You push the button, and then when you push the clutch in, that would activate the solenoids, and you would automatically shift into low gear. Then you would let the clutch out, and when the clutch was all the way out, you would start to move forward. When you got to the speed that you felt you needed second gear, you would push the number 2 button. Nothing would happen though until you push the clutch back in. Once the clutch was pushed back in, then it would shift into second gear, and then you would let the clutch out slowly, and then you'd be in second gear. It did that for all the gears. Very, very early, the very first presentation of a push-button type automatic shift transmission. Some of the features on this car, it had side ventilators on the cowl, which was very early for early cars. The inside of the car, of course, beautiful tufted leather. The door latches that you see are standing up so you can reach from inside or outside. And gas gauge, you wonder, well, how much gas do I have? In order to check the gas in this car, you have to go to the back of the car and look and say, oh, the gauge says half full. So some of the early things that we had on early cars were not quite as easy to understand like the new cars where you have an automatic gauge. Talking about gauges, also we point out the thermostat for your temperature of your water right on top of the radiator, visible from the driver's position, and you could tell whether your water temperature was too hot or not hot enough. Also, the gas, acetylene gas headlights. You actually had to undo the little knob on the side, open the front of the lens, and you actually lit it with a match. Very early, most all early cars had gas acetylene headlights. Some of the side lights were kerosene. This actually had dual gas or electric because it had electric magneto, and it was in the era where it was going from gas to electric lights. So it had actually both options on this particular car. Another unusual thing on some of the cars, notice the shock absorbers on this car. Shock absorbers are friction disc, very different than the new tubular hydraulic type that we have on a car today. So it's a very, very interesting car. It is probably the the only one known with this body year and this Fleetwood body on an SGV chassis. That's a very rare car.
How many SGVs are there out there? We got 2.
Yeah, we have 2. There's one sitting alongside of it. There's not very many. This is the only one known of this body style. And Kendra, you can help on that. I guess there's only 3 or 4 or so
Yeah,
known.
we know of one in British Columbia, I think Vancouver area.
Okay.
And I'm told that's hard body enclosed.
Oh,
version.
closed body.
Yeah,
Okay.
so very different. And then ours, the other one, the 1912, which is open, little roadster. So many differences just between our 2.
Yes, this is a much bigger car, much higher horsepower, 70 horsepower motor with very fast car for 1913.
Yeah. And of course, the Fleetwood body, which
Yes.
makes it, even more special, I think. So,
So you viewers out there should come to the museum. You'll see the world's largest collection of SGV automobiles.
Yeah, that's true.
but it's funny, you were mentioning the gas tank and that you had to stop and get out and go all the way to the back and look, but at least this has a gas gauge.
Yes, some don't.
Because we have, this is a 1913, and we have a T by the gas station, which is a 16, I think,
That's
and
right.
that was, you
Yeah, that.
put a stick in it to see
Yeah.
where your gas level was, so.
Yeah, the gas
let's at
tank
least
was.
have one.
Gas tank was under the seat. You had to remove the seat and then check your gas with a stick. That was very handy, really.
So at least this has a gauge at all.
So this is a big car. And how long did SGV hang around? Would you know
Well,
offhand?
I think you have a little bit of a story about SGV and their electric transmission.
I do in a
And
minute
so
or two.
this was near the end. This is a 13, and in 14 they were actually going out of business. So
Yeah.
this is the last hurrah that they had with this electric transmission.
I think in 1910, SGV owned Acme, but they had not changed the name yet. Acme was another car manufacturer that they purchased and then changed and started making SGVs.
Right.
So they weren't around very long, about 4 years or so.
But very expensive car for the day.
Yeah.
But then the Fleetwood body, which is the other attraction of this vehicle, was around for years and years, especially after it was bought
Yeah,
up by
Fleetwood
General
body
Motors.
continued on and
So-
until to 29 when they were bought by Cadillac.
Yeah, and then they still hung around as far as
Yep.
the custom model, I guess, with Cadillacs. And
Cadillac,
then-
it was Cadillac's best model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And Fleetwood was doing bodies for Packard and Rolls-Royce and Cadillac, so that's the kind of company that they were doing. So SUVs, ranking up there.
yep.
Luxury.
High-end,
Yeah.
high-end custom bodies. Yeah, that's correct.
And, just you talking, 2 other ways that our 1912 SGV is very different are the shock absorbers. You might remember all the way back, I think our first episode, we talked about the SGV's shock absorbers, those canisters by Westinghouse. And then this has the discs.
Yep.
And then the other thing is that electric transmission, which our other SGV does not have.
That's
So
correct.
Right.
they weren't on every SGV, which another unique thing about this one.
So now I have a question for you, Bob.
Okay.
And we've had this car about a month officially,
Yeah,
maybe
about
a little
month,
longer than
yeah,
that.
a month or so. Yeah, it's new. It's our newest collection.
And
This is what we unveiled at our gala in January that we
Right,
talked
so
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
just a couple
This
months.
is the big
Now, and the question is, we have a lot of visitors come in here, and it's like, where do these cars come from that we have? I mean, we've talked about 3 SGVs known, and we got
Right, and
this.
we had 2.
And so, you don't go down to, Fred's used car lot and get one. Where do they come
He
from?
doesn't have one, no.
No.
check.
Well, Dan, the Boyertown Museum collects vehicles that are made in Pennsylvania.
Correct.
And people know that. And this particular car was found by a collector in Connecticut that actually bought a estate out of Kentucky. And he called Boyertown and told us that he had a SGV that he was going to sell. And he knew that we collected cars made in Pennsylvania. he felt that we should have first chance in order to purchase it. And we went, the car collection committee went up, looked at the car, felt that because it was a Reading-built car with a Fleetwood body, a very rare one-off car, and we do have an SGV sitting alongside of it here, that we should have the car. So we purchased a car from that dealer.
Yeah.
And it was thanks to him. I mean, he could have sent it to auction, and we would
Right.
have maybe never gotten it, but it was offered to us first before anyone else got a chance to buy it. Yeah.
Right.
So,
And I think it's a great part of the collection. It's
oh,
it's
a great
wonderful.
piece,
You
yeah.
know.
We still have people that, we still do get donations, especially since, we've expanded our territory to all of Pennsylvania. It opens up more car manufacturers, west of the Susquehanna, really. And so we still are looking for, we have a list. How long is it, Bob?
yeah, we
It's
do.
pages and pages.
Yes.
It's amazing how many cars were built in Pennsylvania. It really is.
And it's amazing how many cars were built in Pennsylvania people don't know anything about. And as a museum, this TV show's part of it. Educating people, what's out there, and so
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
open. If anybody has a standard car, we could use one of them. And
Pullman, yeah, we
Pullman, yeah.
Pullmans were made in York.
Yep.
An auto car.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have an auto car truck.
Yep.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, so we're always looking, and, I think the gentleman who tipped us off to this, was a friend and knew that we were looking at this, and we're always looking to find more people who know these owners.
Right.
And try
Yeah,
to
if you
find
know,
them and locate them.
if you know about a car that was built in Pennsylvania,
know.
please let us know. We would like to be able to evaluate whether it should come here.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Kendra, you have sort of an announcement. Well, you already made the announcement, but an illustration of the announcement, like the Hoods Open stuff?
Yeah, we'll show you just a little sneak peek of Hoods Up Weekend.
Okay.
Okay.
So, like I said earlier, March 21st and 22nd is our Hoods Up weekend. Dan and I have been hard at work, haven't we? Basically, you can come to the museum and see all of these lovely cars inside the engines. And even behind me, we've got air-cooled, we've got water-cooled, so a little bit of everything. And as an extra bonus for the weekend, you can come and get these lovely hooded sweatshirts on sale. They'll be at slightly reduced just for that weekend. So stop on in, see all the engines, get some cool museum gear.
Okay, we were talking earlier about transmissions and shifting transmissions, and then we shifted our subject like that to the SGV, and then we talked about some other couple things here and there. And you can see we're still at the SGV, and as Bob mentioned earlier, this has the push-button transmission. It was a company called Vulcan, was the name of it, and actually the real name of it was Vulcan Motor Devices, and it was from Philadelphia, was the company back in 1913. And let me go back even further. It was actually developed in 1909. That's when the patents were filed, and soon after this Frank Beamer, he was the one who came up with the patents. Soon after he had the patents, he sold them to the Vulcan company. It took a few years for them to perfect it, like 4 years. And in 1913, they started producing them, and they were selling them to different companies. SGV was one of them. And you see an advertisement on your screen, and that's a Vulcan advertisement. And it's kind of interesting because if you look at it, it's talking about the freedom from shifting and stuff, and it shows Statue of Liberty and holding a steering wheel aloft that has the Vulcan push-button transmission attachment to it. You probably can't see it on your TV screen, but that advertisement's from July 4th, and I thought that was pretty clever advertising, freedom from shifting and all that stuff. And You know, that's advertising. I don't think they would do that today.
Probably not.
So, 1913, Vulcan Motor Devices Company out of Philadelphia. They didn't stay around too long. Ended up Cutler Hammer, which is still around today, ended up buying them, and they called it the Vulcan Electric Gear Shift Department of Cutler Hammer Manufacturing Company of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Wow.
That's a lot. That took me about
That's a
10 minutes to
mouthful.
type it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two
I know.
fingers.
Chicken.
Okay. Anyway, I have a quote here. It says the Vulcan Motor Devices Company had trouble meeting demand and ultimately decided to outsource the manufacturing to the Cutler Hammer Manufacturing Company. They hold the exclusive license under the Vulcan patent. So that's what happened there. So in 1914, Cutler Hammer ended up with the company and all the patents and all that. So it's interesting also, when I was gathering information from this, Bob Dare, he loaned me a copy of a booklet that the museum got, and I was looking at this, and you know, and we were talking earlier how the museum comes up with vehicles. Well, it's not just the vehicles that people have their eyes open, but somebody knows that we have, let's say, an Acme car, and if they happen to see an Acme thing, a lot of times, you know, Boyertown Museum name comes up. People have, you know, given me newspaper clips on different things. Same thing with this. We get this copy of a booklet about the Vulcan gear shifting mechanism. And it was a booklet called Gear Shifting by Electricity by somebody named H.E. Coffin, August 1914. And what's interesting is on the first page has a number, and I forget what the number was, a 3-digit number. So it was a number limited edition publication from Cutler Hammer. So, you know, it was a collector's item, I guess. But it was a big enough deal that they mentioned it was a limited edition. Anyway, they talk all about the transmissions, and they talk about how the transmission works, you know, all the gears moving around and this and that, and then ultimately how the Vulcan gear shifter operates. And it was like 41 pages, and it takes about 41 pages to explain all that, because it gets pretty technical. It's not real difficult to understand, but there is a lot of detail to it. But anyway, some of the things they were talking about is it's a complete electric device, and with that, if you had it on a car, you could have the starting, the lighting, and now shifting, all was with electric. It mentioned it was easier in wintertime driving. And I guess you just have more control. And it says eliminates the needs for muscular effort. Now, this is interesting, and you won't see this in today's advertising at all, okay? And I'm quoting this, okay? I'm not making this up.
All right.
Okay, so don't get angry at me.
Okay, I won't.
Eliminates the need for muscular effort, making it possible for a woman to enjoy those things which her lack of muscular strength and general aversion to mechanical things have prevented her from using. And they're advertising this in this booklet here. So that was kind of how they looked at these Vulcan transmissions.
That makes me think of the ignitions, like on an electric car, or the first.
Yeah.
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 You don't just crank. The
Yep.
ladies don't need to crank
Yep.
anymore. You can
And
just-
or just the whole electric car idea, how
Yep.
they're geared for female drivers. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, who used these Vulcan transmissions? I came across a bunch of them. They're all household names. The SGV, of course, we've talked about that. And that only lasted a while. And I came across online, internet's great. I found a reprint of a book online, and it's from Berks County court system or something, I don't know. And Vulcan, the company Vulcan, was seeking to collect money from SGV. And it was interesting because it was the Vulcan company, now remember, Vulcan went out of business, or sold their business in 1913, but everything was dated 1918, so it took that long to go through the court system.
Wow.
And they ended up going in favor of SGV. But anyway, what happened is Vulcan said that SGV had a contract for 500 gear shifts. Now, there's like 40 shifters, never got shipped, and 76 switches and parts and labor for 269 more. And it came to $11,000 and some odd cents. And that's what Vulcan was trying to get. So you add all that up, that's like 385 complete shifters. There's 115 out of those 500 they weren't asking for. So I'm assuming there was 515 SGVs made with Vulcan shifters. So
That's
there
a
you
lot.
go. Yeah.
It's more than I thought.
Yeah, the same here. So anyway, they said there was a contract. SGV says, no, there is no contract here. We just sort of had a verbal agreement. And SGV, they thought they were obligated to receive the shifts and switches only on the condition that they prove satisfactory as an electric gear shift device on the automobiles that it was manufacturing. Well, it wasn't satisfactory. That's why they stopped everything. And SGV discontinued their use entirely at all. And says the best evidence of this was that the company was obliged to cease entirely the use thereof on account of the complaints received from SGV company's customer. Now you read that, it can be taken two different ways. They discontinued the gear shifter or they discontinued the car. And I've heard that SGV, one of the reasons they didn't last is because they had problems with these shifters. So there's your evidence, I guess. So, so anyway, the court found SGV, innocent of all these charges, and that was that. But by 1918, they were out of business already anyway. So that
I'm sure
was
they
that.
spent a lot of money fighting that court case.
It could have been. It was, yeah. So anyway, there was other cars that used them. One was the Elgin made out of Indianapolis, and that was in 1922, which was kind of later than this. Premier was another one, also Indianapolis. They used them. I'm not really sure about that. 1916 and 1920. The Norwalk, that was made in Martinsburg, West Virginia, where my parents lived, by the way. And you'll see a picture of this, Norwalk. That they used them, and I'm not sure what year that was, but about 1914. That was a 4-speed transmission. There's also 3 speeds, by the way. And you're going to see 2 pictures of the Norwalk, one of the whole car, and then you'll see one of the shifting mechanism, which is totally different than this, okay? And then after that, you're going to see the Haynes car. You're going to see an advertisement there. They were made in Kokomo, Indiana, and you can see the shifter on there is right on the hub of the wheel, which is, again, different. So there's 3 different styles. Most of their advertising show it right on the hub. So the Haynes, that was a 3-speed Vulcan shifter. Now, Haynes, they advertised America's first car and a car with the wonderful Vulcan electric gear shift. So they used to advertise as the first car out there. All new Haynes models will be standard equipped with this gear shift. So they came, everyone they made had one of these gear shifters. So it is the most remarkable advance in automobile equipment that has ever been made. With the electric starter and lighting system, it completes the electric control of the Haynes. So there you go, that's 1914. So you can see they're getting away from a lot of driver interaction, getting the car going, and everything's getting automated, we'll say.
Yeah.
Another one's the Pullman. We mentioned that. Again, viewers, you got a Pullman sitting in your garage, give Kendra a call. She'll be glad to hear. And we need one.
They were built in York.
Yep,
Yeah,
York,
York,
PA.
Pennsylvania.
And there's a bunch of them around. I've seen about like 10, 15, something like that. Anyway, they had Pullman. And again, the all-electric advice here is, in one of their advertisements, it's called Push the Button Pullman, the palace car of the American road. There you go. Isn't that kind of neat? Push the button, start the motor. Push the button, shift your gears. Push the button, light your lights. Push the button, sound your alarm. So there you go, a lot of button pushing. So as Bob mentioned earlier with this car, pretty much the way you would you shift gears, you push the little button on the steering wheel, and nothing would happen until you pushed your clutch in and then released it. So you didn't have to coordinate, shifting and, with the hand and pushing clutch and stuff. And a lot of the advertising says you would keep your both hands on the wheel, keep your eyes on the road, and and it would be a lot easier to do too, instead of wrestling around with this gear shift. You just push, boop, little button.
Easier and safer.
Yes, easier and safer. So anyway, so that's pretty much the Vulcan transmission. Now, if you were out there wondering, is there any other transmissions like this? Were you wondering that?
I'm always wondering.
You're always
such
wondering.
Things.
There
Yes.
was, and I came across a bunch. And I never heard of any of these until I started looking this up. One of them, there was another car out there with electric transmission. It was called ENTZ, E-N-T-Z, made out of New York City. And they developed a electromechanical transmission for shifting and such. I've never heard of ENTZ until about a week ago. There's a picture of one in a book, and that might be the only one that there was made. They sold their device to Owens Magnetic, who built a lot of cars. I don't know where Owens Magnetic from, but they were.
I don't remember. I've heard of them before.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
Okay, there was another electromechanical device, a company called Schnitzler out of Minneapolis, and
That sounds a little German.
a little, yeah, yeah. And that was interesting because the way this would work, it, and I'm quoting this here, weighs the torsional load of the drive shaft. Selection of the gears automatically governed by the load. So we're talking pretty high tech here. It sounds pretty high tech for almost now. And this was 1913. Okay, they're the electric shifting devices. There's also pneumatic. There's one called the Gray Pneumatic Gear Shift and Engine Starter and Tire Inflator by a company called Research Company out of Chicago. And that kind of operated the same way. You'd push a button. When you push the clutch in and let it go, it's going to shift. But that was all, instead of electrical solenoids operating, it was all through the pneumatic.
Yeah.
And this had an air tank in the car that would, as you drove, it would pump pressurized air into that tank. It would store it up. But they also had a pneumatic starter for it, and everything was pneumatic. Like they're talking about this, everything's electric with the Vulcan. Well, everything was pneumatic with this. Again, getting more and more automated there. And a couple quotes from them. It says, with this pneumatic equipment, one can shift gears, start the car, jack up the car, clean the car, inflate the tires, and lock the car.
Wow.
And that locked the car, basically, you just took a little device out of it and you couldn't do anything. That was their idea of locking it. It enables anybody, man, woman, or child, to handle a gasoline car with utter safety. The machine is operated without the driver moving his body, without even taking his eyes off the road. And the beauty of it is the Gray Pneumatic can be put on any car by any garage man. You don't have to buy a new car to utilize this equipment. So some pretty interesting stuff there. A couple other ones I found was a Kerfoot hydraulic transmission. And again, it seemed to operate the same way, but through hydraulics instead of pneumatic or electrical. And another one, and I am going to really mess this name up, but it's like Scheisseri transmission out of New York City. And I'm not quite sure how that worked. And then there was another one, it was called Bungay Mechanical Automatic Shift. It was spring operated. And again, while you drive the car, the spring would kind of wind up. And, when you operate the gear shift, the clutch and such, it would kick the gear wherever you had to be kicked to. So there's a lot of interesting stuff out there, but it's a lot. And I I really wore myself out researching this.
I know.
So,
You need
so-
a nap.
Yeah, oh, always. And there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. And of course, I like looking for this, but it all got sparked by us getting this SGV with the push-button gear shifting mechanism.
I was under the impression that the Vulcan, like on this car, for example, didn't work that well.
I am
And-
under that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's no wonder they had a problem, because we were talking about how high end of a car this is. And you pay all that money and it doesn't
Yeah.
shift properly. That's not going to sit well with your customers.
Right.
So-
And I don't know exactly where the failure was or where the
Mm-hmm.
problems were, but I don't know if they had a guarantee back then, or they were losing money replacing it.
Yeah.
But if the word gets out that you don't want to buy a car because it has one of those weird shifters on, well, they're going to lose money that way too.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have like warranties or whatever like we think of today. So the customer's probably going to
So-
eat that cost. And
So there you go. I was up in New York this past summer. I'm going down this state highway or something. This guy had a used car lot, and he had in the showroom. I saw a couple of older cars, and so I did a U-turn. I pulled in there, and I saw the door open, and I walked in, and he had a whole collection of stuff. And he starts telling me about the Chevy pickup he had with a. It was about a 1950 Chevy pickup, and he took me outside. He had it in an enclosed trailer, and the whole bed of it was hydraulically, it was a dump that he got. And I've seen them more recent, but nothing like from the 50s. And it was an Anthony, the same people who do the Anthony lift gates and all that stuff, which, by the way, Boyertown Body was a dealer for Anthony. So I've seen advertisements, and they have all the dealers and stuff. But it was really interesting, because if you can picture, you can picture like a 1950 Chevy pickup truck. Advanced Cab is their little logo thing, and the whole bed was raised up about 3 or 4 inches. But everything else was all restored. So of course I invited him down to Dorrier Day. But he wasn't here.
tailgates could have some legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was from Anion in New York. I think outside of there somewhere. So there you go.
Interesting.
But anyway, you think we ought to do tailgates?
I don't know, it just struck me tonight. Because I remember in the past you said about bumpers, and that's kind of analyzing the evolution of a physical component of a vehicle that pretty much almost every vehicle has.
And don't you have to tie it in ultimately to an American tradition called tailgating?
Tailgating.
Tailgating.
Exactly.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
See, the subject's already expanding. We only got an hour. So, and if it's tailgating, somebody could bring in food.
We're back in food again. Hot dogs, hamburgers, huh?
Yeah.
Boyertown
there.
Bulletin has access to many fine local butcher shops.
Excellent.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you make it after 4?
Well,
Yeah, we could.
I have to say, Dan, it was
okay.
no, it was funny. I was visiting my parents the other weekend, and my mom comes up to me and she says, "I've been cleaning out, some room in the house, and I found these old photo albums of you kids. There's some funny pictures. You should look at this." I said, "Okay." So she pulls out this photo album, and I'm looking through, and there's in the middle, doesn't really fit the rest of the album, is this little photo of a car. And you'll see that on screen. And she said, "Oh, that was my..." Now, you have to know, my mom had no idea what we were talking about tonight. No clue that of our subject. She said, "That was my 1962 Chrysler Newport." And she said, it had a really neat dash on it. And she said, it had push-button transmission. And I said, "Give me that photo. I need it for the show." She was not rehearsed or coached in any way, shape, or form. And she told me she bought that car for $325.
Wow.
And she used it, she said it got her through college and student teaching. And she ended up selling it to a cousin, and then she bought a '68 Dodge Charger.
Your mom has a 68.
She did.
Wow.
She did.
Okay. Green.
Green, yeah. She
Yeah,
loved that
okay.
car. Yeah. But
That's-
that was her
That's interesting.
62 Chrysler. And then another photo I have there that you'll see is of a dash. It's not that particular car's dash. But
You know, I was looking at
the
this
push
picture
buttons.
earlier, and I don't know if you noticed it, but look at the shape of the steering wheel there. It's not round.
It's a little funky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. And I've seen Chrysler products like, I think an Imperial or something, is basically a square steering wheel. I mean, it's kind of roundish square. It's very distinctive shape.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I even have in my notes here something about a steering wheel, so there's another future topic of steering wheels. So,
Perfect.
okay.
Yeah, well, before we say goodbye tonight, just two reminders. Now, in the beginning of the show, and then a little while, I mentioned some of the upcoming events. We have a whole calendar of events for this year, and it's big. I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on here. Now, we have these. You can pick them up here in the lobby, or if you would like a copy sent to you, please email us. We'll email you this in a PDF, or we can snail mail you a copy too. Either way you'd like. So just email us the mail, MAIL at BoyerTownMuseum.org, or if you want to email me, Kendra, KENDRA at BoyerTownMuseum.org, and we'll send this out to you, and you can have the whole rest of the year right here. It's packed with stuff, as you can
Yep.
say.
And I have a feeling that stuff's on our brandy new website too, huh?
And it should be on our brand spanking new website as well. So, but if you're, I know I like hard copies of stuff. If you would like a paper copy to keep, just let us know. We'll send it to you. And also, we're coming up, and this is a while away, 50th annual Duryea Day. We have registration forms. So if you would already like to register your show vehicle, or if you'd like to set up a flea market space, we have those forms too. Again, you can stop in the museum or email or give us a call, and we'll make sure that you get one. So just let us know.
And if any of you viewers out there maybe want to contact me, I do not work at the museum. I'm a volunteer here and stuff. But concerning on the things we talk about here, just again, that mail, email
Yep.
thing, what's the address again?
Mail, MAIL,
Okay.
at BoyerTownMuseum.org, or email me. And I will say also on the new website, it's very easy to find staff members and what we each do and who you need to contact, whatever your question may be. It's easy to figure out who you need to speak with.
But you know,
so,
just put my name in there somewhere.
yep,
So
I'll make sure he gets it.
So, okay.
I double as your secretary.
Yeah, I guess so. So, okay, so it's probably getting near the end of the show. By the way, this cake you see on the counter, good stuff. Kendra made it. So, I mean, that's why we have all these this audience here. They come for the cake.
It's
They
the only
don't,
reason anyone comes
they
here.
don't even listen to us. So,
How about the 75% pork chops?
Yeah.
Have order of that?
You
no.
don't want any pork chops I make, no.
So I have to get home and start working on my topic for next month, I guess.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah, tailgates.
so. We'll see you all next month.
Okay.
Well, Dan, I'm sure you knew that we had a gift shop.
Oh yes, I do know.
Yes, but maybe our viewers at home do not know. But, you know, we've got lots of stuff for sale here. Please, if you're looking for like an automotive gift, something with our logo, a past Duryea Day item, those especially, what I last mentioned, the Duryea Day items, you know, those are really pretty good, well marked down too. So you'll find some good deals here. These are from past Duryea days. Especially those glasses, they're really nice because they're nice heavy duty glasses. I know I break glasses all the time at home, even just putting them in the dishwasher. These are really nice and heavy duty. We also got lots of stuff with our logo on them. We got nice shirts, sweatshirts, hats, thermoses, coffee mugs, the travel mugs, and also very popular are diner mugs. If you come here for Diner Day, you've been here in the past, you've probably seen us selling those diner mugs. Well, they're not just for sale on Diner Day, they're for sale all the time. And they're really neat. So, come here for that. Postcards, other car stuff like puzzles, if you've got someone you're looking to buy a gift for, automotive, please stop in. And our stuff is really reasonably priced too. You can't really complain about that.
I have some shirts, and I wear them proudly. Got some hats. I proudly wear that at Hershey.
Yeah.
Make sure people know where I'm from.
Then we can find you easier.
Well, yeah. So if that's the case, we should have bright green ones.
Look at camo ones.
Yeah.
Camo hats.
But
That
everybody
makes you
else
blend
wears
in.
camo hats. So.
But yeah, we've got lots of stuff here. So please, if you're looking for something, a gift for somebody or for yourself, don't forget us. And if you're a member of the museum, you do get a discount on your gift shop purchases. That's another thing. We do have membership levels. They're very reasonable. Individual memberships start at $25. That's a really great value. Members get a quarterly newsletter, and that covers a little bit of everything that goes on here, some history, upcoming events, photos and details from past events. It's good, right? You like the newsletter?
It is, yeah. Especially when I've
Good answer.
contributed to it.
Especially your articles. Dan and I will both contribute stuff to the newsletter at times. And members also get into the museum free as many times as you want during the year. And that's a great value. You can come to Diner Day, both Diner Days, and not pay the admission, that means. And we have so many great events coming up this year that membership would come in handy. So, and if you're an individual, come to the museum 5 times, you might as well just buy a membership.
Right.
And then you'll get the newsletter.
Because, and I've noticed in the past couple years that we've kind of ramped up the membership benefits, about having free events and stuff for the members, and so that's pretty good.
It's a great value. So if you have any questions about any of this, the membership, stuff for sale in the gift shop, come visit us here at 85 South Walnut Street, or call us at 610-367-2090, and we'd love to hear from you.